banyakubahwa mu nzego zitandukanye bateraniye hano, inshuti bavandimwe, mwaje kudufasha kwibuka abacu bazize jenoside muri 1994 bajugunywe mu nzuzi n'imigezi n'ibiyaga, baje kubasuhuza.
Distinguished guests, friends, family who are here, who came to stand with us as we commemorate the lives of our loved ones who were killed in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, thrown in rivers, lakes, and eventually ended here.
Nitwa Kwibuka30 Solange, ndubatse, mfite umugabo n'abana 4.
My name is Kwibuka30 Solange. I am married and I have 4 children.
Ubuhamya bwanjye bw'inzira y'umusaraba nanyuzemo bukubiye mu byiciro bitatu.
My testimony, or what we call the journey of the cross, is in 3 parts.
Icyiciro cya mbere ya jenoside, uko twari tubayeho.
The first part is the life before the genocide and how we lived.
Jenoside ni umugambi wararateguwe, jewe ntabwo mpamanya n'abavuga yuko yabaye kubera ihanurwa y'indege ya Habyarimana.
The genocide was carefully planned, and therefore I disagree with those who say that the genocide was sparked by the shooting of the plane of President Habyarimana.
Mbere ya jenoside hera twiga muri primaire, mpamvu mvuga ko ari umugambi wararateguwe. Njyewe naje kumenya ko ndi umututsi ngeze mu wa 3 primaire.
The reason why I say the genocide was well planned is because back then, even when we were children, I came to know that I was a Tutsi when I was in primary 3.
Kera twiga mu mashuri bajyaga baduhagurutsa bakavuga abakobwa b'abatutsi muhaguruke, ababahutu muhaguruke.
I remember in class they would say all the Tutsi girls rise, all the Hutu girls rise.
Hanyuma kubera ko ngiye ntari nzi icyo ndicyo, babanje kuvuga abahutu ndahaguruka. Bityo wari umwarimu wacu ahita ambwira ngo wicara ngura umututsi.
So because I didn't know who I was, I rose when they called out the Hutu girls in the class, and the teacher said, "You are a Tutsi girl, so please take your seat."
Noneho nza kubona mbona abana turi kumwe batangiye kumpakamu.
So my classmates started shouting when they saw me rise or sit as a Tutsi girl.
Nageze mu rugo mbaza papa, ndamubwira se turabaki.
I remember going back home and asking my father, "Who are we?"
Hanyuma arambwira ati se kubera iki? Ndamubwira ngewe nahagurutse bavuze ngo abahutu n'abatutsi, mpaguruka mu bahutu, mwemanga ngo nicaye ngiye ndi umututsi, abanyeshuri batangira kumpakamu.
I remember my father asking me, "Why are you asking who we are?" Then I told him what had happened at school. When they called out Hutu girls to stand, I stood, and the teacher asked me to sit down, and then my classmates were shouting.
Hanyuma papa arambwira ati ibyo byihorere.
My father told me not to pay attention to any of that.
Ndongera ngeze mu mwaka wa 4 niho naje kubabara cyane. Ndibuka twari baduha exam baradukosora twandikiraga ku mbaho.
I remember when we went to the next class, which was primary 4, something happened that deeply hurt me. I remember we used to write on blackboards.
Umwarimu wanyigishaga yari umudamu, afata urubaho rwanjye arushyiraho 0.
And my teacher was a woman, was a lady, so she took my board and put 0. She graded me 0.
Hagaruko nari umuswa.
Not to mean that I was not smart enough in class.
Yararufashe ararunaga cyane arurenza umuhanda rwa agana hepfo, arambwa ngo ningiye kurutoragura.
She threw my board across the street and told me to go and pick it.
Ngiye kurutoragura, ngenda gahoro, arambwira ati dore uko bigenda agatsinda bigenda bikururuka.
And she came and saw how I was walking slowly and said, look at how they walk slowly.
arambwira ati n'ubundi inzoka niko mwabaye.
And then she said, snakes crawl.
Ngeze mu rugo nabajije ababyeyi ndababwira ko nababajije ubwoko bwanjye mukanga kubumbwira mwaremo nano bakaba yongeye kubimbwira n'ukubera iki mwabaye abatutsi.
So this time I went back home and I told my parents, I asked you who we are and you told me not to pay attention, but this time round the teacher said that we walk or we crawl as snakes. So why were you born Tutsi?
Ababyeyi barababaye ariko se bansobanurira.
My parents were hurt, but they still didn't explain to me.
Bityo nkajya mbona mu ishuri dukomeza gutotezwa.
So in school we would always be tormented.
Nihuse cyane rero ubuhamya bwanjye ni burebure, reka mba mpine aho ngaho noneho ninjire mu gikorwa nyirizina cya jenoside.
My testimony is very long, but let me go now straight to the genocide itself.
Jenoside yabaye mfite imyaka 16.
The genocide took place when I was 16 years old.
Ndibuka ku itariki 7 indege ya Habyarimana yahanutse.
On the 7th of April when the airplane that had President Habyarimana was shot down.
Njye ntago nari naraye mu rugo, nari nagiye kuraza amasengero ariko yaratuye bugufa aho ngaho.
I hadn't spent the night at my parents' house. I was at my auntie's house, but she was our neighbor.
Narazindutse mu gitondo nza mu rugo nsanga ababyeyi bicaye hanze ku muryango mbona bahindutse bigunze.
I came quickly in the morning and went to find my parents sitting in front of our house, but something had changed about their demeanor.
Ntabwo nari nzi byabaye.
I didn't know what was happening.
Narababajije se ko ndeba mubabaye habaye iki.
I asked them, you seem to be troubled. What happened?
Barambwira bati Habyarimana yapfuye.
And they told me Habyarimana is dead.
Njyewe rero nk'umuntu w'umwana numvaga kuba yapfuye ntacyo bitwaye, narabashubije.
As a child, I didn't see the weight of his death, so I responded to them.
Narababwiye nimba yapfuye ntacyo bitwaye bashyireho undi.
And I said, if he's dead, let them elect another president to replace him.
Ababyeyi barambwiye bati ko nta kundi nyine kuva Habyarimana yapfuye natwe turapfa.
And my parents said, if Habyarimana is dead, we are going to die following him.
Njyewe nk'umwana nkumva ari ibintu bitamfasheho.
As a child, it didn't make sense.
Okay, byarakomeje ubwo ngubwo burakeye ku itariki 8 ndamanuka twari tuyivomero ndagenda njya kuvoma.
On the 8th, the next day I went to fetch water.
Hanyuma mpasanga umugabo twari turanye afite umuhoro arimo kuwucyaza cyane.
I found one of our neighbors with a machete and he was sharpening it.
Ndamubwira se kurimo gucyaza umuhoro.
So I asked him, why are you sharpening the machete?
Arambwira ati uwo muhoro nuwo tugiye kubatemesha.
And he told me, we will use the machete to cut you in pieces.
Narazamutse ngeze mu rugo nsanga papa aragiye inka ku irembo.
I went and I found my father with the cows by the compound.
Hanyuma mubwira uko uwo mugabo ambwiye.
I told him how our neighbor had responded.
Arambwira ati buriya nyine nta kundi ibyo nababwiye nibyo tugomba gupfa.
And he said, this is what I told you, we will die.
Byarakomeje ubwo ku itariki 9.
On the 9th,
mbona ibintu bitangiye guhindura isura.
Things started changing.
Mbona hakurya twari dutegeye kwa nyokuru hari mu mpinga mbona batangiye gutwika amazu.
We lived across my grandmother, and on the other side of the hill, I saw that they had started burning houses.
Hanyuma mama aravuga ati iwacu dore iriya myotsi iri guturukayo batangiye kubatwikira.
My mother said they have started burning the houses of our relatives. That's what's happening.
Ku itariki 9,
on the 9th,
tugiye tubona amafirimbi, induru.
We saw a gang with whistles, shouting, screaming.
Birimo kuvuga mu gace aho ngaho twari dutuye ahantu h'igikombe turi abatutsi.
We lived in a valley place, and the majority of us who lived there were Tutsi.
Twahise tuva mu nzu turagenda tujya ku misozi hejuru tujyana n'inka ariko nta bintu twize tujyana. Papa yaravuze ati ni mubyihorere ubwo nyine nitubaho tuzagaruka tubisange.
So we immediately left our homes and tried to climb upwards the hills. We left everything at home because my father said if we ever leave, if we survive this, we'll come back and get what we left behind.
Subiye nyuma gatoya hari icyo navuze, navukanaga n'abana 9 na papa na mama, ubwo twari 11.
We were a family of 11, my father, my mother, with the 9 children.
Ababyeyi barapfuye n'abavandimwe, ariko nasigaranye abavandimwe 3.
My parents and my other siblings were killed in the genocide. We survived only the 3 of us.
Hanyuma twaragiye tujya aho ngaho ku musozi ahantu bitaga Muntunga.
So we went to a hill, a place they called Muntunga.
Jya kubona ko ibintu bikomeye, hari ubwo abantu bo muri yacu gikombe so twateraniye hamwe. Hanyuma hari umusaza n'umukecuru bari bashaje nta nubwo babashaga kureba, babatereye intebe ngo bicare.
I remember when we went upwards the hill, all of us from the valley went upwards the hill, and I remember seeing an old man and an old woman who were very, very old, and they had given them seats to sit.
Hanyuma ubwo ngiye kubona tubona ibitero 3 biraje byinshi, ariko ubwo batubwiye ati abagore n'abakobwa mufata amabuye mwirwaneho.
And then I saw 3 gangs come to attack us. They had told us that even the girls and the women were to grab stones and throw stones at them to fight for ourselves.
Harabanje haje igitero cya mbere gifite abantu bakeya, akumbi cyari kije gutata ngo kirebe abantu bahari ukuntu bangana, turakinesha.
The first gang that came didn't have many people, so we threw stones at them and they fled. But initially they had come to do the numbering, to know who was there and how much effort it would take to kill us all.
Nari mfite musaza wanjye mukuru bajyaga bavuga ngo ajya mu nkotani ngo akongera akagaruka ngo afite imbunda na grenade.
One of my eldest brothers, they used to call him Inkotanyi, or a member of the RPF, and they used to say that he had a gun and a grenade.
Hanyuma ubwo bitero biza byose bivuga ngo mufate ndekezi ngo afite grenade ngo ni kumufata ngo abandi bose twabashoboye.
So the other gangs that came, they came specifically looking for him, saying that if you grab Ndekezi, everyone else will fall.
Icyo gihe babasaza n'abakecuru navugaga bari bicaye ku ntebe.
So at that time, the old man and the old woman who were sitting,
bababindiye kuri za ntebe, babakubita za ntebe bahita bapfa.
They pushed them and hit them with the chairs until they died.
Bahita batwiraramo gutyo bahita bicamo abandi bantu.
They joined us and started killing people.
Noneho mama yari yadufashe afata igitenge ngiye n'abarumuna banjye araduhambiranya ngo tutaza kumucika tugendere hamwe.
Immediately my mother grabbed one of her garments and tied us. We were 3 of us, and said, I want to keep you close to where I am.
Himara kubona abo bantu bamaze gupfa nibwo nese mbona ko ibintu bikomeye, nahise nijishura mama, ubwo nyine mpita nirukanka mba ndamucitse.
As soon as I saw that the attacks were coming intensely, I untied myself and ran and left the rest behind.
Uwo munsi nibwo mperukana n'ababyeyi banjye.
That was the last day I saw my parents.
Twase dukwira imishwaro.
We had nowhere to hide.
Hanyuma ngiye narirukanse, hari umuntu twari duturanye afite umukingo muremure, ndasimbuka nikubita mu rwina yataragamo ibitoki.
There was someone who was nearby who had a banana plantation, and I jumped over it.
Ariko kubw'amahirwe mvamo ndi muzima ntavunitse.
And I survived with no bones broken.
Umugabo yari muri ibyo bitero bye byaje kwica iwacu, ariko umugore nawe wari uri mu rugo wenyine.
So one of the men, the one who owned the banana plantation, was part of the gangs who had come to kill us, but his wife had stayed at home.
Umugabo yaraje avuye muri ibyo bitero.
So when the husband came back from the attack,
ndibuka neza yaje atwaye itako ry'inyama y'inka rifite n'uruhu yatemanye.
He came with one of the legs of a cow that he had killed.
Abaye akimbona itabwira umugore ati kandi wa mugore uzankorera ishyano.
As soon as he saw me, he immediately argued with the wife and said, why would you let this happen?
ati turimo kwica abatutsi nawe warangiza ukaza kubahisha.
We are killing the Tutsi and you are daring hide one of them.
Ubwo yahisa ansohokana arambwira ati mvira mu rugo noneho kuby'ubwana ndavuga se ubungubu ko ababyeyi banjye nababuze uranyirukana nje he.
And he immediately said, leave my house. But as a child I looked at him and I told him, I can't find my parents. Why are you chasing me away? Where should I hide?
Yasubiye mu nzu aragenda azana umuhoro, mbonye umuhoro ubwo narirukanse.
He went back in the house, brought a machete, and as soon as I saw it, I ran for my life.
Ubwo icyo gitero cyiza cyari nko mu masaa 8, uwo mugabo azanyirukanye byamaze kuba saa 12 za nimugoroba.
So when they had attacked us, it was around 2 p.m. and it was around 6 p.m. of the same day when I was at his house and he started chasing me with the machete.
Ubwo narakomeje ndatambika ndi ruzivuga n'amafirimbi bavuga bati nguwo gena nihisha.
I ran and they were screaming behind me saying that there she is, catch her, catch her, catch her.
Naragiye ngeze mu ishyamba nkora n'interahamwe.
I went to the forest and I met in Interahamwe, one of the militia groups,
Yari afite umuhoro
who had a machete.
Yaranirukankanye kubera mu guhunga.
He ran behind me, but because I had been running,
nari nambaye imyenda myinshi ababyeyi batubwiye ngo tuyigerekeranye.
I was wearing many clothes because our parents had asked us to wear all our clothes.
Yankubise umujugujugu w'umuhoro.
He threw the machete towards me.
Kubw'amahirwe kubera ya myenda nari nambaye igerekeranye wa muhoro ufata muri ya myenda noneho nge si wafata ku mubiri ndakomeza ndiruka.
And because I had so many clothes on, the machete was stuck in the clothes, but it never reached my skin, and I kept running.
Narakomeje ndagenda nikubita mu mukoko wari uhari.
I went and I fell in a hole.
Ubwo nari namaze kurenga mu gace k'iwacu nikubita mu kandi gace kandi.
I had moved from our neighborhood and went to another area.
Naragiye njya ku rugo yari umugabo w'umurokore nsanga ari abantu barimo gusenga. Arambaza ati nibiki ndamubwira ntimisha.
I went to our house and one of the person who stayed in that house, he was a Christian, a Pentecostal Christian, and they were praying in his house and he asked me what is happening and I said, please hide me.
Yangiriye neza yarambwiye ati ngwino nguhishe. Ndagenda njya mu cyumba cy'amasengesho nsangamo harimo abandi bahungu jenoside yabaye bari barimo gusenga babiri n'umukobwa umwe w'abatutsi harimo n'abandi babiri none b'abahutu basenganaga.
So I went to the prayer room where they were praying. There was a Tutsi girl and some Tutsi young men and some Hutu men.
Yaraduhishe iminsi 3.
He hid us for 3 days.
Bigeze aho ngaho baza kumenya yuko duhari bavuga ngo nyine bazaza kutwica.
And they eventually came to know that we were hiding there and they said they would come to kill us.
Ubwo babahungu b'abahutu bari aho ngaho bahise bagenda bajya iwabo.
The young Hutu men went back to their homes.
Hanyuma baragarutse baravuga bati rero bene wanyu bandi barimo kwambuka bakajya Gitarama niho barimo gukirira. Ati namwe muzaze mugeyo.
And they came back to see us and they told us other Tutsis are fleeing to Gitarama. It's best that you also flee towards that direction.
Uwo munsi bari buze kutwica uwo muhungu umwe twasenganaga yaraje aratubwira ati ntimurara ahangaha kuko bavuze ko baza kubica.
So on the day that they had planned to come and kill us, one of the Hutu young men said that do not spend the night here because it is tonight that they will kill you.
Twarahavuye turi 3.
We left there, we were 3.
Turakomeza turagenda dushaka kugira ngo turebe ukuntu twakwambuka tujye hakurya Gitarama.
So we kept moving, trying to go towards Gitarama.
Twaragiye.
We walked.
Twoga mu mugezi wa Nyamabuye.
We had to swim through the Nyamabuye lake.
Mu mugezi mutoya.
It's a small river.
Umuhungu umwe aravuga ati ariko atari umuntu nzi dusengana uzi kwambutsa muze tujye kumureba atwambutse.
One of the young men who was with us, who was praying with us, said that I know someone who can help us cross.
Turagiye.
So we went.
Tugera ahantu kera tukiga primaire munsi y'amashuri twajyaga tujya kwigira ibintu byo gukora imigati.
And we went to a place where back in the day when we were still students, we used to go to this place where they would teach us how to bake.
tuhageze tubona interahamwe nyinshi zari zivuye ahantu hari umupasiteri wari umututsi wasengeraga muri eperi bari baje gushaka abana be ngo babice kubera ko umupasiteri ntaho hari yaragiye hanze.
When we went, we saw a big gang of Interahamwe who had come looking for the children of a pastor from the Presbyterian church. He wasn't there at the time, he had gone abroad, so they came to look for his children to kill them.
The Interahamwe ziba ziratubonye noneho turirukanka,
saw us and we had to run.
babandi ndababura ngiye nihisha muri ya furi imigati.
I went to hide in the bakery and I couldn't see the others where they had gone.
Umugabo umwe warunze azi no mu rugo.
One of the men recognized me and he knew my family.
Yamvumbuye muri ya furi imigati.
He came looking for me and found me in the bakery.
Ankubita imene mu mutwe.
And hit me with a club in the head.
Hanyuma cyakoze narakomeretse ariko sinapfa ndirukanka.
I was wounded but I didn't die and I kept running.
Ndamucika.
And I ran from him.
Narakomeje nsubira muri wa mugezi.
I went back to the river.
Wa Nyamabuye.
The river of Nyamabuye.
Ngeze muri Nyamabuye naje guhuriramo n'abahungu nari nabuze.
I met the young men that we had lost each other during the running.
Turakomeza tujya ahantu kugira ngo batwambutse.
And we kept moving so that we reached the place where the person was to help us to cross.
Twagezeyo.
We reached there.
Tugenda dukwepana n'ibitero.
But we had to keep hiding from the gangs that were coming to kill us.
Abahungu kubera basenganaga n'uwo mugabo.
The young men, because they used to pray together with that man,
baramubwira ati tubabarire ubu amakiriro dufite ni kuri wowe.
They told him, forgive us, but you are the only one who can save us now.
Ati ngwino utwambutse tugende tugere kuri Nyabarongo.
They told him, come and help us cross so that we go to Nyabarongo.
Twaramanutse tuba tugeze mu bisheke.
So we reached the place where there were sugar canes.
Hanyuma tugeze mu bisheke wa mugabo aravuga ati reka mbanze ngiye kureba ko umusomyi urimo atuko iyo bwije umusomyi barawutwara.
And he said that he was going to check out the place because in the evening they would come in.
Hanyuma araza aratubwira ati umusomyi ndawubuze ubwo nyine hasigaye no kwirwariza.
And he was going to help us cross over, but there was no boat, there was nothing to help us cross over. So he said, we can't cross. I think everyone will have to find their own way.
Twihisha mu bisheke.
So we had to hide in the sugarcane plantation.
Hanyuma batangira kuduhigisha imbwa.
And they had to let the dogs come to look for us.
N'ibisheke barabitwika.
And they burnt all the sugar canes.
Ubwo nyine twase tubona yuko akacu karangiye.
So to us we knew that was the end.
Tangira kumva interahamwe zizaziruka n'amafirimbi barimo bahegamo abatutsi uko bavumbukagamo kubera ko bamaze gutwika ibisheke.
We started hearing the Interahamwe with whistles and screams, and since they had burnt down the sugarcane, all the Tutsis who were hiding in that sugarcane plantation had to rise from their hiding.
Nibwo bahise baturuha muri Nyabarongo.
That's when they threw us in the Nyabarongo.
Ariko kubw'amahirwe suko twe tuzi koga.
But it must have been luck, not to say that we could swim well.
Mbabwiye ngo nageze hakurya gute.
I cannot tell you how I reached the other side of the river.
Ntabwo mbizi.
I do not know how I reached the other side of the river.
Nagiye kwisanga ku nkombe y'uruzi hakurya igitarama.
But I found myself at the river bank in Gitarama.
Naba abantu twari kumwe ntago bapfuye twese uruzi rwadutaye hakurya.
And all the other people they threw in the river didn't die because the river took us all the way to the bank.
ariko kubera y'amazi twari twanyoye,
but because we had taken in a lot of water,
twari twabyimbye nda turakandagura n'amazi akajya aca hasi no hejuru.
we had to squeeze each other's bellies so that the water comes out.
Hanyuma twageze hakurya Gitarama kubera iwacu wenda nsubiye inyuma gato ntago navuze aho mvuka mu cyahoze ari commune Shyorongi.
I didn't introduce where I was born. I was born in a place that was formerly known as Shorongi.
Ubungubu na Akarere ka Rulindo.
Today it is Rulindo.
Icyo gihe rero hakurya hari commune Runda, ubu yabaye Akarere ka Kamonyi.
Across was Runda, but today it is known as Kamonyi.
Bari bazi ko rero cyahoze ari commune Shyorongi ari MRND, hanyuma hakurya ari MDR.
So parties had divided those places. On this side it was MRND and the other side was MDR, the political parties of that time.
Icyo gihe duhunga bari batari basobanukirwa bazi ko ari amashyaka ari gusubiranamo MRND irimo kwica abantu batari MRND yabaye MDR.
So when we were fleeing, people were initially confused, thinking that it is the members of the political parties that were fighting each other.
Twebwe tuvuga ko turi guhunga MRND nyine turi abaye MDR.
So we said that we were running from MRND, the political party, because we belong to MDR.
Twaragiye ku munsi ukurikiyeho batangira gusobanukirwa ko ari abahutu bari kwica abatutsi.
But the following day we came to understand that actually the Hutus were killing Tutsis. It was not a political party problem.
Baratangira kutwirukanka navuga ati burya twabacumbikiye tutazi ko muri abatutsi.
So they started chasing us, saying that we kept you thinking that you are Hutus, but we know that you're Tutsis.
Aho twari twaraye hari ku nshuti zabo bahungu twari turi kumwe.
The place we had spent the night was a place where the friends of the young men who were with me lived.
Nihuse gato ubwo ahangaho twahise tuhava.
So as I go quickly, we left that place.
Narakomeje ngewe ubwo abahungu ubwo igitero cyaraje dutandukanya, nibuka yuko mfite bene wacu irukoma.
The gang came and separated us because everyone was running for their lives. And I remember that I had a family in Rukoma.
Naragiye ngeze aho kwa bene wacu.
I reached where my relatives lived.
Naharaye ijoro rimwe nsanga umugabo waho nta wari uhari we yakoraga i Kigali, mpasanga abana na mama wabo.
I went and I found the mother of the house and the children. The father was working in Kigali, so he wasn't home.
Mama waravuga ati nimuze n'ubundi papa wanyu bamwishe natwe nebaza batwicire hamwe.
And this lady said, come, they have killed your father. Come and let us be together. If they kill us, they should kill all of us together.
Mbwira abana twari mu kigero kimwe umukobwa ndavuga rero muze twirukankire ni wacu nakijijwe no kwiruka nimugumanga barabica.
I told the children who were my age, I told them, let's run. Even me, I have reached here because I've been running. We don't have to stay here.
Mama wabo yarabakomezanije yanga ko twirukankana ngewe mpita mbacika ndirukanka.
The mother refused to let them go and I refused to stay, so I kept running and they stayed behind.
Nimara kuhava ngeze haruguru igitero cyahise kiza bose kirabica barapfa nta numwe warokotse.
And as soon as I left, a gang came and massacred all of them and no one survived.
Ubwo narakomeje ndirukanka.
I kept running.
Hanyuma nza kwibuka ko nari mfite masenge za Gacurabwenge.
I remembered that I have an auntie who lived in a place called Gacurabwenge.
Masenge yarashatse umugabo w'umuhutu.
She was married to a Hutu man.
Naragiye ngezeyo.
When I reached there,
yafite umugabo w'umusaza aravuga ati guma ahangaha nyogosenge nibaza kumwica bazamwicana.
And this old man said, come and stay here. When they come to kill your auntie, they should kill the two of you together.
Naharaye iryo joro igitero gihita kiza.
I spent the night and then another gang came to kill us.
Kije kwica uwo mukecuru.
This group came to kill this old woman, my auntie.
Jewe nabaye numvise cya gitero mpita nca mu ntanzi z'urugo ndirukanka numva masenge arimo gutaka bamwishe.
And as soon as I heard the attackers come, I ran for my life and immediately then they started killing my auntie. I heard her screams as I was running.
Narirukansa ndagenda njya hakurya ku muhungu wa masenge.
I ran to the house of my cousin who was living across the house.
ngezeyo baranyirukana bati bashoshe ugenda mutaza kutwicisha kandi ukashobotse.
And my cousin said, run, they will kill all of us if you stay. They have decided to kill all of you. You shouldn't stay here and get all of us killed.
Nanazamutse ndara mu ishyamba ryari aho ngaho, imvura iranyagira ndaharara.
I went and I spent the night in the forest that was nearby.
Ku munsi ukurikiyeho ndongera kundi munsi ndahirirwa.
I spent there whole day.
Ku munsi wa gatatu inzara njye ndavuga ngo reka ngaruke wenda bampa ibiryo nisubire muri rya shyamba.
And on the third day I said, let me come back and ask for food, then I'll go back and hide in the forest.
Ngezeyo barongera baranyirukana bati genda ntabwo tugushaka aho ngaho.
And when I went back, they chased me. They said, go, we do not want you here.
Narakomeje ndagenda bangeze aho bita Bunikayenzi ngire ngo.
I kept moving. I went to Kayenzi.
Asanga bariyeri y'interahamwe nyinshi cyane.
I found a roadblock with many interahamwe.
Ya myenda nari nambaye kubera ukuntu yari nyinshi nari nkigerekeranyije bakajya bambwira bati manika amaboko uvuge power.
And I was still wearing all those clothes, so when they saw me they told me, raise your hand and keep chanting power, power, power.
Bakajya bambwira bati ubwo ntabwo uri umututsi.
And they said, you are not a Tutsi.
Banyaka ibyangombwa ndabwo njye nta byangombwa afite.
They asked for my documents, my ID. I didn't have my ID.
Barambwira ngo se nta masasu ufite.
They asked me, do you have bullets?
Ndabwo nta masasu mfite.
I told them I don't have bullets.
Barambwira bati zini za nyenzi turimo kurwana nazo.
And they said, these are the cockroaches that we are fighting.
Ndabwo njyewe ntago ndi umututsi. Bakambwira ati se ubu ngubu urabona usa natwe.
And I told them I'm not a Tutsi. And they said, do you look like us? Do you think you look like us?
Ndabwo njyewe ndi umuhutu.
I told them I'm a Hutu.
Papa ni umuhutu ariko mama ni umututsi njye nsa na mama.
I told them my father is a Hutu, my mother is a Tutsi. I look like my mother.
Harimo interahamwe imwe ari ifite inkota.
There was an interahamwe who had shoes on.
Afite inkota ndende.
He had a sword.
Arambwira ati inkota niyo maze kwicisha bene wanyu.
And he said, I have just used this sword to kill your relatives.
Ati nawe ndayikwicisha.
And I'm about to do the same to you.
Havameo interahamwe imwe iravuga ati aka ni agakobwa arimo kwihorere.
One of the interahamwe said, this is a young girl, leave her.
Ati nimukicaza ahangaha turakica tuvuye kwica bene wabo.
Let her sit here and wait for us to kill her after we have finished killing all her relatives.
Nicaye kuri bariyeri.
So I sat by the roadblock.
Bansigira interahamwe ebyiri ngo zisigare zindinze.
They left two interahamwes to keep watch over me.
Haza umugore ngo yari umugore w'umupolisi.
Then there came a woman, she was a wife to a policeman.
Araza arababwira atari kugiye mwahere mwica uwo mwana mwamwihoreye murabona batwaye iki.
And she said, you have killed for so long. This is a child. Leave her alone.
Iyo nterahamwe imwe arabibwira ngo nazayituma itabi.
So she asked one of the militiamen to come, that she would send him to get cigarettes for her.
Ati ndasigara mubarebera indi sinibuka ikintu yayitumye.
And the other one, I don't know what she asked him to do. And she said she would stay with me and watch that I stay there.
Arambwira ati wa mwana we ndabunteye agahinda. Ati ira nterahamwe irakwica yagusize aho ngaho ati yamaze abantu.
And she said, young girl, I feel sorry for you. That interahamwe will certainly kill you because he has killed so many people.
Arambwira ati manuka ahangaha muri kano kabande.
And she said, go down this hill.
Ati wigendere.
And just run.
Ndamubwira se ndajya ariko ntazi inzira.
And I said, I do not know the way, so where should I go?
Arambwira ati wa mwana urabaza inzira ati komeza wiruka.
And she said, young girl, you ask for the way, just run for your life.
Naramanutse.
So I ran
muri aho kabande.
Down the valley.
Nahasanze abatutsi benshi.
I found so many Tutsis.
Mu Gacurabwenge ndibuka ni mu Gacurabwenge ndahabona neza.
It is in Gacurabwenge. I can see that place now.
Babishe.
They had killed them.
Bamwe bari mu gutaka bansaba amazi kandi nanjye ntayafite.
Some were crying out for water, asking me for water, and I didn't have water.
Ntacyo nari bubafashe ndabasimbuka nsimbuka ya mirambo.
I couldn't help them, so I kept jumping over the bodies.
Ndakomeza mbangeze ku Kamonyi.
I went all the way to Kamonyi.
Nageze ku Kamonyi nsanga urugo rw'umututsi bamaje gutwika.
When I reached in Kamonyi, I saw a house of a Tutsi that they had just burnt.
Nsanga abagore n'abakobwa barimo gushungera.
And I saw women watching over what was happening.
Nasanze igihungu kimeze nk'ikigoryi.
And I found a man who looked like he was mentally ill.
Abagore bakajya bavuga bati tuguhe umugore.
And they were saying, let's give you a wife among these.
Hano kikajya kibabwira ngo nta mugore nshaka.
And he kept saying, I do not need a wife.
Umukobwa yarambonye.
One of the girls saw me.
Muri abo bari hango bari gushungera.
One of the women who were watching what was happening.
Arambwira ati wa mwana ngo ngwino nkubwire.
And she said, young girl, come over here. I want to tell you something.
Arambwira ati uri umututsi.
And she said, are you a Tutsi girl?
Sinigeraga mvuga ko ndi umututsi.
I never said I was Tutsi.
Ndambwira ngiye ntabwo ndi umututsi.
I said I'm not a Tutsi.
Naye ntangiye kujya mpindura none nkajya mbabwira ngiyeyo navuye i Kigali nahunze inkotanyi ndimo kujya kwa sogokuru ku Mugina.
I had changed my story, and at this point I was telling them that I was fleeing from Kigali, fleeing from the Inkotanyi, the RPS soldiers, and I was going to my grandfather's house.
Ku Mugina aho nari mpazi kubera musaza wanjye umwe nababwiye mukuru yararashatse umukobwa waho.
That area I knew it so well because my brother, the one I told you about, had married a girl from that area.
Byari maze kuba saa 12.
It was around 6 p.m.
Umukobwa yaranjyanye wabo arambwira ati ngwino ngucumbikira dore burije hanyuma uzikomereze ejo mu gitondo.
So she took me to her family home and said, you stay here and then tomorrow morning you will keep moving.
Nagezeyo.
When I reached there,
kubera umunaniro urwa rugendo rwose nagenze,
because of the long journey and the exhaustion,
yanyeretseho kuryama sinatekereza n'ibyo gupfa ndasinzira.
She showed me where to sleep and I immediately slept. I forgot about the death and everything that I had seen.
Papa we kumbe yari intera hamwe ikomeye aho ngaho yabaga yagiye ku kazi niko kera babyitaga.
And her father, unbeknown to me, was one of the leading Interahamwe in that area. So he had gone to work. When they would go out to kill people, they would call it going out to work.
Papa we yaraje wa mukobwa arambwira ati ngwino ujye gusuhuza papa.
When her father returned, she came and woke me up and told me, come and greet my father.
Naraje nsanga papa we yicaye muri salo afite umuhoro afite mpiri.
I went to the living room and found her father seated with a machete and a club.
Akimbona itavuga ati wa mukobwa uzankurira ishyano turimo kurwana n'inkotanyi kumbe nawe ukazicumbikira.
And immediately when he saw me, he scolded his daughter and said, we are killing the Inkotanyi and you're bringing one of them to my house.
Arambwira ati uri umututsi.
So he looked at me and asked me, are you Tutsi?
Ndongera mubwira ko akuri ndavuga ngiye ntabwo ndi umututsi ndi umuhutu.
I told him I'm not a Tutsi, I'm Hutu.
Arambwira aya mazuru urabona nawe bahutu.
And he looked at me and said, do you think your nose looks like the nose of Hutus?
Namubwiye nta amazuru na ya mama niwe mututsi papa no muhutu.
I told him my nose is similar to that of my mother, she's Tutsi, but my father is Hutu.
Arambwira ati nisha abantu benshi ndananiwe genda wowe sinkwisha ariko ntondarire mu rugo.
So he looked at me and said, I have killed so many people today, I'm very tired, I cannot kill you. Tomorrow early morning rise and leave.
Yaranyirukanye.
He sent me away.
Byamaze kuba ninjoro.
It was late.
Ndagenda ntangira kwibaza aho ngiye na hantu ntazi.
I started asking myself where I was going to head. I didn't know this place.
Nageze haguru urugo umukobwa araza arankurikira.
So when I reached the compound, the daughter came.
Arambwira ati garuka papa agiye kuryama kandi ngiye ndara mu nzu yo hanze ngwino nkurarane mu gitondo uri bwikomereze.
And she called me and said, come, my father has gone to sleep, but I sleep in the house that is outside. I'll keep you for tonight, then you'll go tomorrow morning.
Umukobwa yaranjyanye iwabo ndaryama.
She took me to the house and I slept.
Mu gitondo narabyutse.
In the morning when I woke up,
papa atari yabyuka ndakomeza ndagenda.
I woke up before the father woke up and I kept running.
Ndamubwira none se wandangiye inzira irangiza ku Mugina.
So I asked her, what is the way that will lead me to Mugina?
kumugina nahagendaga n'imodoka ntago naye mazi n'amaguru.
I used to go there by car. I didn't know the place on foot.
Yanyeretse inzira.
She showed me the way.
Ndagenda ngera ahantu bita mu Gashyushya.
I reached a place called Mugashyushya.
Sanga interahamwe nyinshi ugira ngo ni nk'isoko ryaremye.
And I found many in Interahamwe. You would think it's a market.
Barangije baramfata.
Then they took me.
Interahamwe ya.
The Interahamwe took me. He hit me with his leg. And I fell. Because I had fell upside down. Another Interahamwe came and hit me with a club at the back, and I felt like a dead person. They left me there thinking I was dead. When they left, I kept running. I kept moving. When I reached another roadblock, they asked me, "Where are you going, young girl?" As I had told them, as I told you, my brother who lived in Mugina had been married and his wife was a Hutu woman. And I kept saying I'm going to my grandfather's house, but in actual sense he was the father-in-law of my brother who was a Hutu man. Now what I didn't know is that at that roadblock was an Interahamwe who was married to the sister of my brother's wife, or my sister-in-law. And he said, "Who do you belong to? Because I know all the grandchildren of this household." I told him my sister-in-law. And he said, "You are lying because all her children are very young, so you must be her sister-in-law. That means you are a Tutsi woman." I immediately saw that he had recognized me. So he said, "How are you going to Muhinde's house, that particular person, because they have hidden so many Tutsi and we know that you're going to become too many in one place." My brother had told his wife, so he had told his wife, go and hide our children. If you survive, we will meet again. So this man who was married to the sister of my sister-in-law told me, he said, "I will let you go. I'm sure they will kill you themselves." So I kept moving and went to the family home of my sister-in-law. Her brothers were in the Interahamwe militia. When he saw me, he said, "Now our home has become a home of the Tutsi."
ati wenda kwica.
So he looked at me and said, I have let these children go because they are girls, but for you I will kill you myself.
Arambaza ati musaza wawe ari hehe ari we muramuwe.
So he asked for my brother, who was his brother-in-law.
Ndamubwira ntabwo nzi ahantu ari.
And I said, I do not know where my brother is.
Arambwira ati naramukaje wenda mwiyicira.
And he said, if he comes here, I'll kill him myself.
Mamukaza wanjye akimbona.
As soon as my sister-in-law saw me,
yaravuze ati noneho ndagushyiraho ko n'abana bagiye kubanicana.
And she said, where will I hide you, because they even want to kill my children.
Musaza we yaragiye azana igitero.
The brother went and brought an attack group.
Aravuga ati muze munkurire inkotanyi ahangaha.
And said, come and take the inkotanyi from this place.
Mamukazi wanjye yahise ajya kumpisha mu rutoki.
My sister-in-law immediately went to hide me in the banana plantation.
Cya gitero cyaraje gisanga ntahari.
And when the attack group came, it didn't find me there.
Hanyuma musaza we yarongera aragaruka.
The brother came back.
Kundi umunsi ukurikiyeho.
The following day.
Ni ishusho ntashobora kuzibagirwa.
I can never forget what my eyes saw.
Iteka igaruka mu maso yanjye.
Because this image always comes back in my mind.
Yazanye umwana w'imyaka 5.
He brought a child of 5 years.
W'umututsi.
A Tutsi child.
Nibwo nahise mbona ubugome bw'abahutu ko ari bubi.
That's how I saw that they had wicked hearts.
Hari ityazo ryari hanze bacyarizagaho.
There is a place that they used to sharpen their weapons.
Yahambiye kakana.
He bound the 5-year-old child.
Kandi akamusaba imbabazi.
I remember this child begging for his life.
Arambwira ati ngiye kukwica.
And he told the child, I'm going to kill you.
Yafashe umuhoro arakegeta agakanu.
He took the machete and cut the child by the throat.
Akana karapfa.
And the child immediately died.
When he
was killing this child, I was seeing it. And he said, the way I've just killed this child, when I come back, this is what I will do to you. I told my sister-in-law, I told her, I am afraid of a machete. Let me run. And she told me, she said, I can't do anything about it. I don't want you to die in front of my eyes. I kept moving. I went to the Mugina. And she said, there are other Tutsis. I went to the parish. One of the local leaders of that area, he was called Ndagijimana Kaliste. I don't know if he was Hutu or Tutsi, but he used to be a good local leader. He held a meeting. And he said, at this point, fight for your lives. They want to kill all of you. Try to fight for your lives. So when we were having a meeting, there came an attack group and we fought back and they ran. They asked him to go to a meeting to see the prefect of that district. They killed him at the border. And the day they killed him is the day they killed all of us. They killed him at the roadblock. We went to the church.
padiri wari uhari yaravuze ati musabe penetesi abasaba penetesi yamwiyeze.
And the priest who was there said, this is the time for you to repent your sins and prepare yourselves for death.
Ati umunsi wanyu wageze.
Because your day of death has come.
Interahamwe zinjiye mu kiliziya.
The Interahamwe came in the church.
Ziratemagura abana, zirica abakuru.
They killed everyone from the children to the elderly, killing them with machetes.
Naje kujya mu mirambo.
I was in the dead bodies.
Ndyama hejuru ndi ndayorose ndayisasira.
I had to sleep on the dead bodies and cover myself with other dead bodies.
Hinduka amaraso.
And I became blood all over.
Interahamwe zaraje zikagaragura zije kureba abakirongo zihorahoze.
The Interahamwe would come and kick the bodies to see if they could find any living people left so that they would kill all of them off.
Bambonye bagira ngo napfuye.
When they saw me, they thought I was dead.
Abasohokagamo abasirikare barabarasaga.
And if anyone tried to run from the dead bodies, there were soldiers outside who would quickly shoot you.
Bigeze nijoro nasohotse muri ya mirambo.
At night, I left the bodies.
Naragiye hari igiti cy'umunyinya kigandaye gihari hanze.
There was a big tree outside.
Nuriye cya giti cy'umunyinya nicaramo.
And I climbed the tree and sat in the tree branches.
Niriwemo.
I spent the whole day.
Bigeze nijoro ndibaza ndavuga nti bazagera aho bambone.
And at night I thought to myself, they will eventually see me in the tree branches.
Naje kuvamo njya mu Masaka.
I left and went to the sorghum plantation.
Maramo iminsi 3.
I spent 3 days.
Naje kubona nta handi nderekeza.
I saw that there was no other place to run to.
Ndongera nsubira handi kwa muramukazi wanjye.
And I went back to my sister-in-law's house.
Ngezeyo wa musaza wambonye.
When I reached there, her brother saw me again.
Arambwira atari kunyenze n'umujya mupfa koko.
And said that cockroaches never die.
Tinarinze ko wapfanye na bene wanyu uragarutse.
I thought you had died with your relatives. Now you have come back.
Nagezeyo mpura n'ubuzima bubi.
I lived a very difficult life.
Ndatotezwa cyane.
I was tortured, gravely tortured.
Mama wa muramukazi wanjye.
The mother of my sister-in-law
kanyambwira ngo ngiye gusenya inkwi.
would tell me to go and collect firewood.
Ku nzu z'abatutsi.
Collect firewood from the houses of Tutsis.
Nagiye kuzisenya.
And when I would go to collect firewood,
inkotanyi zatangiye kugera muri ako gace.
at the time the Inkotanyi had started reaching that area.
Zirandasa.
They shot at me.
Ndavuga nari komana.
And I said, God,
ngiye kwicwa na bene wacu.
I'm going to be killed by my relatives, my brothers.
Ndongera ngaruka nta nkwi nzanye.
So I came back with no firewood.
Ngeze yarambwira ati se uje uzanye iki kutazanye inkwi bari abakwica si bene wanyu.
And she said, you have come empty-handed, and the people who were shooting at you are your relatives.
Ndamubwira nti bandasaka.
I said they were shooting at me.
Musaza we nakobwa umuhungu we yarambwiye atari kuti noneho uyu munsi ntagurara.
And her son, the brother to my sister-in-law, said, you shouldn't survive this night by all means.
Yagiye azana igitero giturutse Irunda.
He went and brought an attack group from
Runda
in a place called Rugarika.
Jewe ngo nandi munsi y'urutara.
I was down at the bottom.
Ariko nari navuyemo nicaye muri salo.
And I was sitting in the living room.
Haba haje umugore yaragiye kuvoma.
Then a woman who was going to fetch water passed by.
Araza abwira muramukazi wanjye.
She came and told my sister-in-law.
Atana ruguru hari igitero kije kwica muramukazi wawe nuko numvishe bavuga.
And she said there is an attack group coming to kill your sister-in-law.
Muramukazi wanjye yarambwiye ati sohoka mujye kwihisha inyuma y'urugo.
My sister-in-law said leave this house and go and hide behind the house.
Ndamubwira ntoya nereka nigire munsi y'urutara.
I said I'll go and hide under the rock.
arambwira ati munsi y'urutara rwabuze isoni arabizi ko ari wowe wihisha buriya niho yabarangiye nibaza barakwica.
And she said, my brother knows that that's where you are likely to hide, so that's where they'll come looking for you.
Byararangiye koko ndagenda nihisha inyuma y'urugo hari ku mwero w'ikawa.
I went and hid behind the house. It was the time of the harvest of coffee beans.
Hari n'ibishyimbo.
There were beans.
Nihisha muri bya bishyimbo n'ikawa.
I hid in the beans and the coffee plantation.
Boherejemo amacumu munsi y'urutara barambura.
So when they threw in spears under the rock, they couldn't see me because I wasn't hiding there.
Bagaruka kunshaka muri za kawa.
They came to look for me in the coffee plantation.
Interamo imwe yanyereye ku kirenge rwose numva igiye kumbona.
One of the interahamwe slid by my feet and I thought he had seen me.
Ariko bahita babona inka hakurya bari bakurikiye ntibambona.
But they saw cows and decided to chase after the cows and they left me.
Nabonye bagiye.
When I saw them run,
ndavuga nti buriya rwabuze isoni nagako gasanga mpari none haranyica.
And I said, if the brother comes back, his name was Gwabzisoni, he will definitely kill me himself.
Ntago nasubiyeyo.
So I didn't go back.
Narakomeje ubwo ndagenda.
I kept moving.
Inkotanyi zari zageze muri ako gace noneho.
The Inkotanyi had come in that area.
Mpunga mu kivunge cy'abahutu nabo bahungaga.
And I ran with the Hutus who were running away from the Inkotanyi.
Ubwo twahungaga twerekeje Nyabikenke.
We were heading towards Nyabikenke.
Ndagenda ngeze Kayenzi.
When I reached Kayenzi,
bambajije ibyangombwa ndabwa nta byangombwa afite.
When they asked for my documents, my ID, I didn't have it.
Baravuga bati Inkotanyi turimo kugendana nazo.
And they said we are moving with Inkotanyi.
Ati cara aho ngaho.
They said sit there.
Ndahicara.
I sat.
Sinzi ukuntu nacunze barimo kwaka abandi byangombwa ndirukane kubita muri cya kivunge ndakomeza ndagenda.
I saw that they were asking for documents from the others and I quickly ran and joined another group.
Narakomeje ndahunga.
I kept running.
Ndahunga nkomeza nyine nerekeza za Nyabikenke.
I was headed to Nyabikenke.
Naragiye ngeze Nyabikenke.
When I reached Nyabikenke,
njya kuvoma amazi yo kunywa.
I went to fetch water to drink.
Ngeze aho bavomaga.
When I reached the place where they were fetching water,
masanga abahungu bavuga ati ni Inkotanyi turi kugendana nayo.
I saw young men and they said this is another Inkotanyi who is with us.
Baramfashe.
They took me.
Nkubita urushyi.
One of the Interahamwe slapped me.
Banyicaza aho ngaho barambwira bati turakujyana aho bene banyu bari Senate.
And they told me sit there, we will take you where your brothers are at the Parliament building.
Baranshoreye baranjyana.
They took me.
Ahantu hari icyobo.
A place where there was a big pit.
Bandagagamo abantu.
And they were throwing people in the pit.
Bahangejeje barambwira.
When I reached there,
ngaho nimvuga ijambo rya nyuma ninagemo.
They asked me to say my final words and then they would throw me. I would jump in the pit by myself.
Ntabwo nzi ahantu umutima wambwiye ati wo kugira ngo winage muri iki cyobo irukanka nibagufata bakwica.
And something told me instead of jumping in the pit by yourself, you can still run. And if they catch you, let them kill you, but at least you will have run.
Narirukanse nikubita mu kivunge cy'abandi bantu.
I ran and joined another group of people.
Ndavuga ngiye ku mutima nabone sinongera guhunga ndagiye nubwo abankotanyi zirica zinyiyicire.
And I was very tired and I said I'm not going to run anymore. If I meet the Inkotanyi and they are killing people, let them kill me, but I'm not running anymore.
Nasubiye inyuma ngaruka za Kayenzi.
I returned and went back to Kayenzi. As I was heading home. There are some faces I see I can never forget. I saw soldiers in the ex-FAR army. I saw a man that they had made sit. They were saying he is Inkotanyi. They took me and sat me down next to him. And they said we will not waste any more bullets. These ones we will stone.
umugabo baramufashe baramuhambira.
They took this man and bound him.
Bakajya bazana amabuye bagakubita mu mutwe, amaraso agatungereza bagakubita ahantu hose, bakajya ataka.
They bound him and they started stoning him, and with each stone blood would spurt and he would cry out.
Bakavuga ngo inzoka ntabwo zipfa gupfa ngo igihe twamwiciye ku cyadapfa.
And they would say, snakes do not die easily. We have been stoning him for so long and he's not dying. And they would keep stoning him.
Abasirikare bo kwa Habyarimana
And the soldiers,
baravuze ngo kana gakobwa ko ngo nimukihore ngo turakica nyuma.
and they said, leave this girl behind, we will kill her last.
Nkuko bamwe bahungaga abandi bahunguka.
Because some were fleeing and others were returning.
Bakajya bavuga ngo bya binyagitarama ngo ni ibitutsi dore birimo gusubira iwabo.
And they would say, those from Gitarama are returning, so they're going back home. They must be Tutsi.
Sinzi ukuntu naje kubacika.
I don't know how I ran from them.
Nsubira inyuma noneho nkata umuhanda ugira Rukoma.
And I took the road to Rukoma.
Maze kugera Rukoma.
When I reached Rukoma,
ndavuga wajya hahandi banyirukanye kwa mubyaranje kwa masenge ntuburiya bo wenda ntago bahunze.
I said maybe I should go back to my cousin's place, even though they chased me, I could find them there.
Naragiye nsubirayo.
So I went back to my cousin's house.
Arambwira ati se urongera uragarutse ko inkotanyi zene wanyu zaje wagiye ugasanga bene wanyu.
And they said, why have you come back? The Ingotanyi are here. Go and join the Ingotanyi.
Arambwira bati rero ubundi ko wanyu bapfuye wowe uzimarira iki?
And they told me your whole family has been killed. What will happen to you?
Nsubiye inyuma gato.
So when I returned,
ababyeyi banje nkuko twaherukanaga tukiri mu rugo.
As I told you, I last saw my parents when we were at home.
Ntabwo nongeye kubabona.
I didn't see my parents again.
Ariko amakuru nahawe na mumu nanjye barokokanye.
But my sibling, one of my youngest sisters who survived,
bari hakurya irundi ahantu bita Musenyi,
told me that they were in Musenyi.
Interahamwe zarabajyanye.
The Interahamwe took them.
Abahutu bari abagome.
The Hutus were wicked.
Papa wanjye yari afite imyaka 52.
My father was 52 years old.
Mama yari afite 45.
My mother was 45.
Bari kumwe n'abasaza banjye babiri.
They were with my two brothers.
Na mukuru wanjye umwe.
And my older sister.
Na murumuna wanjye umwe.
And one of my youngest sisters.
Papa yari muremure cyane.
My father was very tall.
Baravuga ngo kino gisaza nitukibahamo tutagitemye.
And they said if we kill him without cutting him in pieces, saying my father, that he will swim.
Papa bamukuyemo imyenda.
They took off all my father's clothes.
Baramutema.
And they cut him in pieces.
Bamunaga muri Nyabarongo.
They threw him in the Nyabarongo river.
Na mama na baramutema bamwambuye.
They did the same with my mother.
Namunaga muri Nyabarongo.
And also threw her in the Nyabarongo.
Musaza wanjye na mukuru wanjye babibonye gutyo.
When my brother and my older sister saw this,
birohamo bari bazima.
They jumped in the Nyabarongo alive.
Ariko bo barapfa.
But they died.
Murumuna wanjye muto wa Bucura yari muto yari afite imyaka 5.
My youngest sister who was 5 years.
Bamuroshyemo ariko avamo ntiyapfa.
They threw her in the river but she didn't die.
Hanyuma ubuhamya bwanjye ni burebure uko nakageze aho ngaho ukamunandi Rukoma.
When I reached there,
naje gusubira inyuma mpura n'inkotanyi kwa ko zari zafasha ku gace.
I met the Inkotanyi because they had taken that place.
Zarambwiye.
They told me,
ati humura ntago gipfuye.
don't worry, you will not die.
nabonye inkotanyi ndishima.
I saw the Inkotanyi and was overjoyed.
Narababwiye ngo nimushaka munyicire.
I told them, if you want, you can kill me.
Barambwira ati humura ntugipfuye.
And they told me, fear not, you will not die.
Mu gusoza kwanjye,
as I conclude my testimony,
ndashimira inkotanyi
I want to appreciate and thank the
Inkotanyi
who saved our lives.
Nkuko umuhanzi Bonhomme abivuga,
as Bonhomme the singer says it,
Inkotanyi
the Inkotanyi
n'ubuzima bw'abacitse ku icumu,
are the life of the genocide survivors.
Nyuma gatoya rero,
so as I say this,
jenoside ikirangira,
when the genocide ended,
nibazaga uburyo nzabaho.
I always ask myself how I would survive,
nkibaza ukuntu nzongera kubona umuryango,
how I would find family.
Ariko ndashima leta y'ubumwe,
but I thank the government of
nshima ubuyobozi bwacu bw'u Rwanda,
and I thank the leadership of Rwanda.
Ubu nariyubatse,
I have built my life after that.
Mfite umugabo, mfite n'abana.
I am married with children.
Byongeye nagira ubuntu, mfite n'umwuzukuru.
I even have a grandchild.
Mana yangiriye neza.
God has blessed me.
Meze neza nta kintu mbaye.
I am well.
Ndashima Imana.
And I thank God for that.
Ubutumwa naho urubyiruko,
the message I would give the youth,
ndabashishikariza kutazajya mu byo ubuyobozi bwa kera bwari burimo nk'ubwo twabayemo.
Please do not engage in the politics that led to the genocide,
kubaka amahoro,
but work towards building peace
bakiyubaka
and building their lives.
Shoza rero,
as I conclude,
ndashimira,
I want to thank
Mugiraneza.
I want to thank a person who really helped us,
Mahmoud Imana yakoreyemo,
Mohamud Tobani, that God used
akabasha kurokora imibiri y'abacu,
and he saved the bodies of our loved ones.
Kuri uyu munsi tukabona tuza kwibukira abacu,
and today we have a place to commemorate the lives of our loved ones.
Nagira agahinda gakomeye ko kutabona aho nibukira abanje.
I always had pain because I didn't know where to commemorate the lives of my loved ones.
Ariko iyo nje kwibuka abanje,
but when I come here to remember them,
ndarira nkaruhuka,
I cry and I rest,
ataha nezerewe,
and I go back home with peace.
Imana yo mu ijuru izamuha umugisha.
May God bless him.
Nkongera nkashimira,
I want to thank
Ambasaderi w'u Rwanda muri Amerika, nani muri Uganda.
I want to appreciate the High Commissioner, His Excellency,
uza kwifatanya natwe,
who always comes to commemorate with us,
kuza kwibuka abacu kuri iyi nshuro ya 30,
as we are here to commemorate for the 30th time.
Nkashimira na leta ya Uganda,
I want to thank the government of the
iyo
Republic
ibaje
of Uganda
kwifatanya natwe,
that comes to commemorate with us,
ikatwemera ko tuza kwibuka abacu,
and even allows us to come and commemorate for our loved ones.
Murakoze, Imana ibahe umugisha.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi naho ntizagaruka, ingengabitekerezo yayo irahanduka neza.
Being resilient and for being willing to share with us your testimony. I'd like to ask Ndahima and Jean de Dieu to come and give us a short song in the interest of time, before we receive the speech from the Humura representative. Ndahima and Jean de Dieu.
Ziyayo imporerweko imyaka isabye icyubahiro, amaboko yawe ukuyaga, hamye nta idasubira inyuma, urugendo rwo kwigotana.
Nango mudufashe kubanga bw'ibyuma. I'm going to sing the song which is called the Ibarua, means letter. It's the message we have for our parents, our brothers and fellows. Ibarua. Kwayiririmba nta kibazo nubwo ibyuma byadutengushye. Ibaruwa nkwandikiye ni igisobanuro cy'uko ndiho, izi ndabo nazo nkuzaniye n'iz'igihango dufitanye. Aya marira ujya ubona ndira, n'ay'agahinda ko kutakubona, n'akagatwenge ujya ubona nseka, n'akamashami yawe yashibutse. Urukumbuzi mubyeyi wanjye nirwo rutumye nkwandikira ibaruwa. Ese nkwibarize mubyeyi wanjye, niba warahuye na mukuru wanjye, mushiki wanjye na murumuna wanjye, na data wacu ndetse na marume. Cyagihe ubwo twihishaga bakatubona, ugasohoka mbere ukitanga maze bakakwica. Watubereye igitambo turirukanka, nubwo natwe tutarenze imbere, kuri bariyeri barahatwiciye. Ndibuka ko bazanye imihoro bakadutema ku murongo, bavuga bati aba ni Abatutsi. Ariko wari wagerageje mubyeyi, ndagusaba ngo aba bose ubansuhurize. Ubwo batwicaga sinashizemo umwuka, bagiye kuzana imodoka ipakira imirambo, mvamo ndirukanka nisha mu Masaka. Ibaruwa nkwandikiye ni igisobanuro cy'uko ndiho, izi ndabo nazo nkuzaniye n'iz'igihango dufitanye. Aya marira ujya ubona ndira, n'ay'agahinda ko kutakubona, n'akagatwenge ujya ubona nseka, n'akamashami yawe yashibutse. Murakoze, dukomeze kwibuka twiyubaka.
Murakoze cyane. At this point in time, we're going to welcome Jean Bosco Nobumwe, who is a representative of Humura Association, to give us his brief remarks.
nyakubahwa umushyitsi mukuru muri uyu muhango, nyakubahwa High Commissioner w'u Rwanda mu gihugu cya Uganda,
Your Excellency Guest of Honor, Your Excellency High Commissioner of Rwanda to Uganda,
banyakubahwa muhagarariye ibihugu byanyu n'imiryango mpuzamahanga muri iki gihugu cya Uganda,
Your Excellency the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, and other excellencies, ambassadors, high commissioners here, and international organization heads,
banyakubahwa batandukanye muri uyu muhango,
different distinguished guests who are here,
baturage mutuye muri aka gace ka Golo duteraniyeho,
people who live here in Golo near this memorial site,
banyarwandakazi mwitabiriye iyi gahunda,
Rwandans who have come to this event,
bavandimwe mugize humura Victoria warakoze twaturukanye mu Rwanda, ndabashuhuje mwese.
the brothers and sisters in the Humura Victoria Warakoze.
Muri uyu mwaka
In this year,
u Rwanda ruribuka ku nshuro ya 30 Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi.
Rwanda is commemorating for the 30th edition the genocide committed against the Tutsis.
Ni umwanya mwiza wo guha agaciro n'icyubahiro abacu baze Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi.
This is the right time for us to commemorate the lives of our loved ones who were killed in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi.
Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi yarateguwe ishyirwa mu bikorwa.
The genocide perpetrated against the Tutsis was planned and executed.
Ku buryo hishwe Abatutsi barenga miliyoni.
And more than 1 million Tutsis were killed.
Muri aka kanya kuri uru rwibutso rwa Golo,
Right now at this memorial site in Golo,
turibuka kandi tugaha icyubahiro Abatutsi bishwe bajugunywe mu mazi bakagera muri Lake Victoria, bakaba bashyinguye muri uru rwibutso barenga 4,000.
we remember the Tutsis who were killed and others thrown in rivers and lakes, and they eventually ended at Lake Victoria. And here on this site, we have more than 4,700 buried bodies.
Ni ngombwa rero ko duha icyubahiro abacu bishwe bazira uko baremwe.
It is important that we pay tribute to the lives of our loved ones who were killed because of who they were born.
Mwumvise inzira y'umusaraba umutangabuhamya Marie Solange amaze kutugezaho.
You have heard the testimony, the journey of the cross of Marie Solange,
Inzira yaciyemo
the journey that she took.
ni ikimenyetso kigaragaza ko Jenoside yabayeho, yateguwe kandi igashyirwa no mu bikorwa.
It's a sign to show that the genocide was planned and it was well executed.
Mu mwanya nk'uyu nguyu rero twibuka Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi,
In a time as this, as we commemorate the genocide against the Tutsi,
ni n'umwanya dusaba amahanga, international community,
this is the time we ask the international community
gukurikirana abantu bose bakoze Jenoside, cyane cyane bari mu bihugu bitandukanye ku isi,
to ensure that justice is rendered by pursuing the perpetrators of the genocide who are in different countries across the globe.
Dusaba ibihugu barimo ko byabafata bikabashyikiriza inzego z'ubutabera.
Asking that the countries where they have decided to hide, that these countries would get them and ensure that they face justice.
Ni umwanya mwiza wo gusaba amahanga
This is also the best time to ask the nations
guhana abapfobya Jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi,
to punish those who deny the genocide against the Tutsi,
ndetse n'abandi bose ku isi bahembera ingengabitekerezo ya Jenoside.
and everyone else who supports the genocidal ideology.
Isi yose ikwiye guharanira ko Jenoside itazongera kubaho ukundi.
The whole world should try it's very best that the genocide will never happen again.
umwanya nk'uyu
In this time,
tuba tugomba no gushima
we need to also appreciate.
nk'uko umutangabuhamya uvuyeho mu kanya amaze kubivuga.
As the witness said,
Humura Victoria warakoze, turashimira Mr. Mahmoud Tobani.
Humura Victoria Warakoze would like to acknowledge and appreciate Mr. Mahmoud Tobani
kuba yarashoboye kurohora imibiri y'abacu uyu munsi, tukaba tuza kubibuka no kubaha icyubahiro bakwiye.
for having given the space for our loved ones to be resting, and today we come to commemorate them.
Mbonereho no gushimira leta y'u Rwanda
I want to acknowledge and appreciate the government of Rwanda
kuba yarashyize mu bikorwa icyifuzo twatanze ubushize ubwo twibukaga,
for having implemented the request we presented to them last time,
aho twasabiraga Mahmoud Tobani ko yahabwa umudari agashyirwa mu barinzi b'igihango. Uyu munsi bikaba byarakozwe, turashima cyane leta y'u Rwanda.
where we asked that Mr. Mahmoud Tobani would be acknowledged and be given, awarded a unity medal for his role in ensuring the unity of Rwandans.
Turashimira abaturage bo muri aka gace ka Goro kuba barafatanyije n'itsinda rya Mahmoud Tobani kugira ngo barohore abacu.
We want to thank the people in Golo for having worked with the team of Mohamed Tobani in collecting the bodies of our people.
Ndetse tukanabashimira ko iyo twaje kwibuka nk'uku nabo baza kwifatanya natwe.
And we want to thank them because every time we come to commemorate, they come and commemorate with us.
Turashimira leta ya Uganda.
We want to thank the government of the Republic of Uganda
kuba idufasha kugira ngo tuze dushobore kwibuka no guha icyubahiro abacu,
because they always help us and are with us as we come to commemorate and pay tribute to the lives of our loved ones who are resting at these sites.
by'umwihariko bagafata umwanya wabo bakaza kwifatanya natwe muri uyu muhango. Turabashima cyane.
We thank them for coming and for being part of this ceremony.
Ntago nasoza iri jambo ntashimiye nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika y'u Rwanda Paul Kagame.
I cannot finish this speech without thanking His Excellency the President of the Republic of Rwanda.
hamwe n'ingabo yarayoboye zashoboye guhagarika jenoside.
And the RPA army that he led that stopped the genocide.
Kuba yarayoboranye ubutwari urugamba rwahagaritse jenoside, uyu munsi tukaba twibuka abacu, turabimushimira cyane.
We thank him for leading the liberation struggle, liberating us and allowing us to reach where we are today, where we commemorate the lives of our loved ones.
Abacu bishwe bazize jenoside yakorewe abatutsi,
Our loved ones were killed in the genocide against the Tutsi.
bagiye tukibakeneye,
They were killed when we still needed them.
tuzahora tubibuka.
We will always remember them.
Agira ngo nsoze iri jambo nihanganisha buri muntu wese uri hano ufite abe bishwe muri jenoside yakorewe abatutsi.
I want to end this speech with comfort for the genocide survivors or everyone else who lost a loved one in the genocide against the Tutsi.
Ngashimira ambasade y'u Rwanda mu gihugu cya Uganda yateguye kino gikorwa.
I want to thank the Rwanda High Commission that organized this commemoration event.
Dukomeze twibuke twiyubaka. Murakoze.
Let us remember, unite and renew. Thank you. Murakoze cyane. We are now going to see a video, a Kwibuka video, before we welcome His Excellency the High Commissioner, His Excellency Joseph.
A country transformed over the past 30 years. This new Rwanda has been forged out of the ashes of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, an event that shocked the world. Our story offers a warning of what can happen when political leaders preach division and hatred triumphs over humanity. But it also tells us what can be achieved when a determined people fight together for unity and reconciliation. This is Rwanda today, a country transformed over the past 30 years. This new Rwanda has been forged out of the ashes of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, an event that shocked the world. Our story offers a warning of what can happen when political leaders preach division and hatred triumphs over humanity. But it also tells us what can be achieved when a determined people fight together for unity and reconciliation. This new Rwanda has been forged out of the ashes of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, an event that shocked the world. Our story offers a warning of what can happen when political leaders preach division and hatred triumphs over humanity. But it also tells us what can be achieved when a determined people fight together. This is our journey, told by those who have traveled together as we have moved from despair to hope. For much of the world, Rwanda first existed in 1994. And yet, our story starts long before this. Before colonialism, Rwandans had a rich culture, one language, and the people were united around their own organic form of governance. This all changed when colonial powers chose to control Rwandans by ethnicity, creating division and conflict where none had existed previously. This division grew into hatred and violence, culminating in the genocide against the Tutsi, where over 1 million people were murdered in 100 days.
tukabona interahamwe zirirukanka zambaye amashara zaba zifite ubuhiri zifite imipanga aho mu isoko zibyina nta ukanda burende bahiga abatutsi mbese mu buryo bukomeye.
Maze kubona bikomeye, abantu batwika, abantu barya inka, abantu batemagurana za bariyeri bazishyizeho, yewe n'abana na madamu tujya kwa databukwe, bari bafite imbaraga nyinshi. Abo bana rero bahamaze iminsi mike, hanyuma musaza wa madamu, se wabo ufindimwe na se n'abandi b'abavandimwe babo nibo bafashe iya mbere, nta wundi wivanzemo, babajyana muri Nyabarongo, barabaheka baragenda babata muri Nyabarongo, barangije barataha.
Muri jenoside 94 banyiciye imiryango yanjye mu bana 9 nabyaye, hasigayemo twana tubiri.
Abana ba Mariya babiri n'umugabo wa Mariya, abo bose badusanze kuri bariyeri, twe turagira kubica.
Abagabo bacu babazamuye mu ngo bababwira ngo tugende tujye kwirinda, ariko bo bazi ikigiye kuvamo. Bahera ku mugabo wanjye kuko bari kuri liste, bahita bamutsinda aho ngaho haruguru y'urugo gato, barabarashe, bamurashe amasasu, umwana ngo nuyusha mbaye hanuyo.
This genocide was long planned by the government of the time, who used education and the media to divide Rwandans, creating the conditions for the genocide to happen. The preparation of the genocide and of the 100 days of killings happened in full view of the world, who stood by, watched, and did nothing. No one came to Rwanda's rescue. The killings were only stopped when the Rwanda Patriotic Front overthrew the genocidal government. From that moment, Rwandans began the long, hard road to recovery, healing, and reconciliation.
Mu mwaka wa 2004 nibwo nafashe icyemezo cyo gusaba imbabazi Mariya. Mfati umwanzuro, numvaga nti se wenda yaba ntari namusanzeyo, kuko numvaga mfite ubwoba. Nkongera nkavuga nti se ubundi amaherezo yazaba yahe. Ngize amahirwe rero ubwo nuvuga ngo Mariya asanze ariyo, nibwo rambwiye nti ko biri kose urabizi njye ni mu bantu nyine bakwiciye ariko noneho ndagira ngo umpe imbabazi.
Byagiye bigenda gahoro uko dusabana, uko duhura, uko tuvugana, uko twigishwa, hacemo inyigisho nyinshi cyane, ntabwo byari byoroshye.
Hari ahantu neza nemereye neza ko imbabazi yazimpaye, narangiye ku isantere ahantu mbambonye Mariya, naramuhamagaye turasangira, mbona aremeye turasangira. Muri njye uwo munsi arimo nafungwe, n'umunsi arimo mvuye muri gereza.
To heal the wounds of a nation where neighbors killed neighbors, and even some family members turned on each other, the new Rwanda had to find a way to deliver justice for the victims, which could manage the scale of the crimes, and could also heal the torn social fabric of our society. So, we turned to our history for the answer. We set up Gacaca tribunals, a traditional form of community justice where citizens elected inyangamugayo, men and women of integrity in their communities, who heard almost 2 million genocide cases. This not only ensured that justice was delivered, but also established the truth of the killings. Reconciliation could begin at last.
Gacaca zimaze kugeramo abaturage tugakorana, bari bafunguye bakaza. Werekana ko twajyanye mu gitero, ngo kuko abakoze jenoside, ngo kuko bagaragaye.
Abenshi rero muri Gacaca byatumye bamenya uko ababo bishwe, barihangana barabyakira, bamenya naho bajuguwe.
We asked that the genocide survivors make huge sacrifices by putting aside their desire for retribution in favor of forgiveness and reconciliation. And we asked all Rwandans to leave the ethnic divisions in the past and embrace a future of Ndumunyarwanda, where we are all Rwandan.
Nabaga muri CNLD, naje mfite ipeti rya General de Brigade. Kuyo dufata icyemezo tukava muri CNLD tukaza mu Rwanda, nuko twari tumaze kumenya neza ko leta y'u Rwanda ifite gahunda nziza yo kunga abanyarwanda, ikangurira abanyarwanda aho bari hose batahuke mu mahoro, kandi waza ikakwakira neza nk'umunyarwanda, ugatura aho ushaka utuje utekanye nta kibazo gihari. Muri ADF igihe mazemo nabonye nta vangura ribamo, umuntu akora akazi ashinzwe nta kindi.
Rwanda is still a work in progress. It is up to the next generations to learn the true story of our past, to protect against genocide, denial and hate, and keep the memory and the lessons of our history alive.
En fait, le négationnisme est en pleine expansion sur Internet, sur les réseaux sociaux, puis sur Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Le discours n'a pas changé. Certaines personnes vont par exemple prétendre que le génocide n'a pas été planifié, mais que les gens se sont mis en colère et ont commencé à tuer. Il faut qu'on soit plus nombreux à protéger la vérité, à protéger l'histoire du génocide contre les Tutsis sur ces plateformes-là.
We have made progress across every sector, creating a secure and ambitious country which offers opportunity and hope to all Rwandans.
Byahindutse ni byinshi nyuma ya jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi. Umwana ariko akabona buruse atitawe ngo n'ukwande.
Ndi umukobwa ukora ibijyanye n'ubuvuzi ndetse nkaba ndi no muri siporo kandi byose nkabikora neza. Rero umwana w'umukobwa icyo bamubwira nuko turashoboye muri rusange, ibyo twajyamo byose dushoboye kubikora neza, ndetse turanahagarariwe hirya no hino kugeza ku mudugudu, turahagarariwe n'ijwi ryacu rishobora kumvikana.
For our friends around the world, we thank you for continuing to stand with us and ask you to share Rwanda's story and what we've learned about division and reconciliation at a time when the world seems increasingly more fractured. Rwanda's experience is one of unimaginable loss, but it is also the story of a people determined, of resilience, of sacrifice, and of rebirth. Rwanda today is proof that out of the depths of despair can come great hope.
We welcome His Excellency the High Commissioner, Your Excellency Joseph Rutawana to come and give us your speech. After your speech, we'll have a moment of recognition and presentation of the Unity Award, which will be given to Mr. Mahmoud Tobani, and you will also welcome the guest of honor.
No, I'm fine. Thank you very much, Barbara, our MC. I will first apologize to the people who came from Rwanda, because I'm going to make my speech in English, not in Kinyarwanda, but at the end I will summarize and greet them. Murambabarira mvuge mu rurimi rw'icyongereza kugira ngo abashyitsi bose bari aha ngaha bumve ubutumwa nshaka gutanga, ariko nyuma ndaza kubaramutsa kandi mbabwire mu magambo make ibyo navuze. Murakoze. The guest of honor, Honorable Oreru Huda, Minister of State for Defense and Veterans Affairs, in charge of Veterans Affairs of the Republic of Uganda. Your Excellency, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps and Ambassador of Eritrea to Uganda, His Excellency Mohamed Sulaiman Ahmed. Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors, High Commissioners, and the heads of international organizations, the UPDF delegation led by Major Henry Matsiko, Joint Staff Chief Political Commissar, the officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led by Ambassador Philip Ukikaire, religious leaders, Owekitibwa Mohamed Tobani, Managing Director of Four Ways Group of Companies, the local community leaders and the members of the community. Last but not least, our brothers and sisters who came from Rwanda, Humura Victoria Warakoze Association. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking all of you for kindly responding to our invitation and to have joined us at this 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Today, the High Commission is pleased to once again share this 30th commemoration with members of Humura, which is an association of genocide survivors who came from Rwanda, and we especially console you as direct victims. As we have heard from the testimony, these are people who lived the genocide and who survived. I had intended to introduce dignitaries who are here, but for saving time, I will recognize that we have many ambassadors, high commissioners, many government officials, local government officials, people from here. We appreciate all your presence and we thank you very much. And I appreciate the local council chairman who made a very good speech introducing us to this area and the history, which I'm going to mention also. The commemoration of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda is an annual event and spreads to 100 days, and it is commonly referred to as Kwibuka. It's a Kinyarwanda word for remembrance, and is an opportunity to pay tribute to the victims of the genocide. The theme of, as we have seen for this year, is remember, unite, and renew. It has been a recurrent theme for many years. The reason is because we remember so that the memory is kept for future generations. We also unite because unity of Rwandans is and will always be paramount. And we renew because resilience, but not despair, by survivors of the genocide and the whole nation have been a key factor for renewing lives, what we say in Kinyarwanda, Kwiyubaka. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda took lives of more than 1 million Rwandans. The genocide was organized and executed in full view of the international community, which stood idle and watched as it unfolded. The genocide was not an accident, but rather a culmination of decades-old divisive and ethnicity-based ideology of hatred. These divisions began during the colonial period in Rwanda and ultimately resulted in the planning of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, carried out by the National Revolutionary Movement for Development, MRND, Mouvement Révolutionnaire Démocratique pour le Développement, which is the regime which was in place that time. One of the horrible methods used by perpetrators was throwing victims into rivers, dead or alive. Those rivers, they mentioned Nyabarongo, but also Akagera, are tributaries of Lake Victoria. So within weeks, thousands of bodies were driven by the current of these rivers into the lake. These were unprecedented and terrifying scenes for the people living here on the shores of Lake Victoria. Honorable Minister, I take this opportunity to thank the government of Uganda and people of Uganda for showing the sense of humanity, empathy, and solidarity by getting out all those bodies from the water and accord them decent burial here and in other 2 sites. Indeed, if it were not for the local communities here, especially Mr. Mohamud Tobani, who together with local leaders took it upon themselves to collect the bodies and bury them, we would not be here today to commemorate. You've heard the survivors testifying about it and thanking Mr. Mohamud, and we'll come to him shortly. Now we have 3 memorial sites along the lake. There is Kasensero in Rakai district, just after the Akagera enters into Lake Victoria, and it has 2,875 bodies. Then there is Rambu in Masaka district with 3,337 bodies. And this one here in Golo, Mpigi district, with 4,771 bodies. The reason is, as you have seen on the plaque, some bodies here were exhumed from Marembo and Dimo and they were buried here. So, the total number of the people buried is 10,983 victims of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda buried in Uganda. Honorable Minister, coming back to Mr. Mohamud Nordin, his noble acts were recognized by Unity Club in Hwararumuri, an organization founded by Her Excellency Madame Jeannette Kagame, the First Lady of Rwanda, by placing him at national level among abarinzi b'igihango. Let me explain. Kurinda is a verb in Kinyarwanda which means to protect. And igihango was the most solemn bond or pact that could unite two people or two families in our tradition. And beneficiaries of this award have been those who protected their Tutsi neighbors by hiding them despite the risk of being killed themselves in case they are discovered. As a matter of fact, some lost their lives because of doing that. So Mr. Tobani was therefore placed at that level for valuing humanity, as it will be read in the citation, which we read when I'm going to award him his certificate. And this award was issued on October 29th, 2023, during the 16th Unity Club's annual forum, but he could not travel to Kigali that time to receive it, and I will be honored to hand it to him today in front of you all, but especially in front of the 100 Humura members who came from Rwanda. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, the genocide against the Tutsi was put to an end by the then Rwandese Patriotic Army RPA, which was the military wing of the Rwandese Patriotic Front RPF in July 1994. And it was led by our current president, His Excellency Paul Kagame. Rwanda's reconstruction journey therefore started with the establishment of the transitional government of national unity, which made unity and reconciliation the cornerstones of the new Rwanda. As we commemorate the 30th anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsi, we also celebrate 30 years of unity and resilience, and a whole new generation of Rwandans aspiring for a future free of hatred and built on the principles of a shared identity, Ndi Umunyarwanda, meaning I am a Rwandan, and committed to fight and prevent the resurgence of any forms of hatred and divisive politics. Therefore, education about genocide is one of the most important ways to keep the memory of the victims alive. It is important to reflect on the root causes and consequences of the genocide so that not only Rwandans but the world at large take the necessary measures to punish the crime of genocide and prevent it from happening again. The 30th commemoration marks a generational cycle since the genocide was put to an end, and is an opportune time for a court to reflect on the transformational journey that Rwanda has undergone for the last 30 years, building on the legacy of strength, resilience, and unity that the new generation is called upon to sustain and carry forward to adapt to today's global challenges and future aspirations. Reflecting on the response of the international community in the last 30 years, worth mentioning is the establishment of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, by the United Nations Security Council in November 1994 to try perpetrators of the genocide. Also, the adoption of April 7th as the International Day of Reflection on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda by the UN General Assembly in April 2020, and the inclusion of 4 memorial sites of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi on the World Heritage list by UNESCO World Heritage in September 2023. These include the genocide memorial sites in Kigali, Murambi, Bisesero, and Nyamata. The observance of the International Day of Reflection on the genocide against the Tutsi is a continued call to all UN member states organizations of the United Nations system, and other relevant international organizations, as well as civil society organizations, to recommit to preventing and fighting against genocide and other serious crimes under international law, and underscores the importance of taking into account lessons learned from the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, despite major achievements and milestones in rebuilding Rwanda, among which unity and reconciliation, security, good governance, and welfare of survivors, there is still an increase of manifestations of denial and distortion of the planning and execution of the genocide against the Tutsi, which costed the lives of more than 1 million people in April and July 1994. From afar, this ideology is being spread through social media platforms and online channels, and in some education and higher learning institutions. Some so-called researchers have been spreading revisionist narratives of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi with all sorts of distorted naming. For example, some call it a double genocide, others a civil unrest, others tribal killings or civil war, etc. So the task ahead remains colossal, and the international community should take responsibility to make sure that genocide against the Tutsi are punished wherever they are, and denial should not be tolerated. The objective behind denial of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi is to assert that the genocide did not occur. This denial rejects the researched and proven facts that Tutsis were the victims of genocide between April 7th and July 15th, 1994. With contempt for factual evidence, the perpetrators have tried to alter the story, diminishing the death toll, claiming the killings were a self-defense, and blaming the victims instead. The above is coupled by use of interpretative genocide denial, a mutational form of denial that occurs after factual proof from historical records and testimonies have been established and proven beyond doubt. It means that the massacres and killings are acknowledged as something other than genocide. The survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi have tried to prevail over unparalleled upheavals and have showed unbelievable resilience. They deserve justice and respect. Honorable Minister, I will end my remarks by reminding that the commemoration of the genocide is a global framework to honor the victims, comfort the survivors, and pay tribute to the Rwandese Patriotic Army, RPA, that stopped the genocide and liberated the country. It provides an opportunity for the Rwandans and global community to stand together and draw lessons from Rwanda's tragic history with the goal of fighting genocide ideology, hate speeches, and preventing future genocides around the world. So, throughout this 30th commemoration period, the world should stand in solidarity with Rwanda and ensure that never again slogan becomes a reality with tangible action to prevent history from repeating itself. Before I end, let me speak few words, 1 minute in Kinyarwanda, to console my countrymen who came and survivors. Ibyo mvuze nizeye ko benshi muri mwe mwabyumvise, ariko no kwibutsa abashyitsi bacu n'isi yose iratwumva yuko imyaka 30 irashize abacu bishwe rw'agashinyaguro nuko twabibonye, ariko nyuma y'imyaka 30 twariyubatse kubera leta nziza n'ibikorwa byiza bya leta, twariyubatse ariko ntabwo twibagirwa. Tugomba guhora twiyubaka tunibuka abacu, kandi tunasaba international community yuko ababikoze bahanwa, kuko ntibarahanwa bose, hari benshi bakidegembye aho bari. Ikindi ikintu kijyanye no gupfobya jenoside kikarwanywa kuko kirahari cyane. Mu magambo make n'ibyo nari mvuze, ariko nongeye kubahumuza, nongeye kubabwira ngo turi kumwe kandi mwakoze cyane kuza kubana natwe nk'uko muga mubigira. Now, before I invite our guest of honor, as you have seen in our program, I will invite Mr. Kwibuka30 to come forward so that I can hand to him hand it to him. Just say something, and I will request the guest of honor after that to join us and have a photo with Mahmoud. Then she will have time to have her remarks. Please.
amarira ujya ubona ndira n'ay'agahinda ko kutakubona n'akaga twende ujya ubona nseka
Before I hand it to him, let our MC read a short citation which was sent together with this, so that you can understand exactly why Mr. Mahmoud got this certification.
Mr. Mahmoud Nordin Tobani is receiving his Unity Award as awarded by Unity Club. He is awarded for having valued humanity, especially the Tutsis who were killed during the 1994 genocide, when he buried in honor about 10,000 bodies that were dumped in different rivers that flow into Akagera River, which flows into Lake Victoria in Uganda. He built 3 memorials, including Kasensero in Rakai County, where 2,827 bodies are buried, Golo in PG County with 4,773 bodies, Lambo in Masaka County with 3,336 bodies, more than 10,000 victims of the genocide against the Tutsi in total. Mahmoud Nordin Tobani hired a caretaker for the memorial, offering money to pay for the maintenance and cleaning staff. He continues to be involved in organizing the commemoration of the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Uganda. Nordin Tobani also took part in activities to support the survivors of the genocide in need. In 2018, at the 24th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi, Nordin donated 50 bicycles to genocide survivors living in Rukumberi, Ngoma district.
Thank you. I would add that whenever we have any commemoration in one of the 3 sites, he is with us at the High Commission to prepare the meetings and continues to contribute to whatever we do here. So now it is my pleasure to give to Mr. Tobani a certificate. There is also a pin. It is written Umurinzi w'igihango ku rwego rw'igihugu, meaning he got the award I told you, the protectors of the pact at the national level. I'm going to pin it on his chest as it would have been done if he had gone to Kigali. But it's good that we are doing it here where people whom he served are. This is the citation which has been read, and there is this small flash which contains all the data for him. I'm going to ask him to have few remarks, then I will call our guest of honor to come, and we have a photo before she takes on the floor. Mr. Tobani.
Our chief guest, Honorable Oleru Huda, the Minister of State for Defense and Veteran Affairs, His Excellency the High Commissioner of Rwanda in Uganda, His Excellency Joseph Utabana, High Commissioners, Ambassadors from the respective countries, religious leaders, and representatives from the government of Rwanda, delegation from Rwanda, Homo Association led by Mr. Bosco Nubuwamwe, other officials from Rwanda, High Commissioner in Uganda, the RDC, Mr. Sempala Kigozi, the area MP, Honorable Yusuf Sibambi, religious leaders, Chairman LC5, Mr. Matia Sejemba, the Chairman LC3, Mr. Francis Mbuye, the Chairman LC1, Mr. Matia Bwanika. I requested His Excellency's Ambassador that I will skip my speech because we are late in time, because we are coming a long distance and we've got other program to follow. Our chief guest, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank and appreciate the founder of the Unity Club, Intwa Ramumuri, Her Excellency Madame Janet Kagame, the First Lady of Rwanda, for the recognition and awarding of a certificate of appreciation, Unity Award 2023, and other accompanying items. I was supposed to travel to Rwanda to receive this award between 26th and 28th of November 2023, but due to urgent matter at work, I could not make it. However, I'm so grateful and appreciative the High Commissioner of Rwanda to Uganda, who has made the arrangements to ensure that I receive this award. As I said, I'm skipping my speech, but I'd like to quote one paragraph which will make this Remembrance Day very important. This 30th Remembrance Day is a long time. We are going through a lot of challenges. With all our help from our local staff, of my colleagues in the office, and who have supported us all these years. During the execution of this obligation, in my opinion, number of miracles happened. But for the interest of time, I'll mention only one now, which is related to today's occasion. During one of the commemoration occasion in Rwanda, we visited Nyabarongo site. As I was walking uphill from visiting the river, where the victims were pushed and thrown in the river, one of the pilgrims from Rwanda who had been to Golo approached me with a request to talk to me, and I gave her audience. With all her heart, She expressed her sincere gratitude to me for receiving and looking after the victims buried in Golo. During the vigil in the night, she told me that she visualized her daughter amongst the victims buried here, still in the same dress she was killed in. Tears rolled my eyes and hers as we hugged. Thank you very much. Just few remarks. I'll ask for your permission because of time. Let me end my speech here. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana. Afoyo matek. Brako zichane chane.
I will request our guest of honor to come, and we have a photo with Owechitibwa Tobani, and after that she will deliver her remarks. I just want to remind you that after her speech it will be the end, and as the MC mentioned that we'll be going to lay the flowers in the lake, it will be followed by a lunch. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Colonel Joseph Rubana, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished speakers and participants, the Rwanda community, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Uganda, I join the government and the people of the Republic of Rwanda on this occasion as we commemorate the 30th anniversary of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Kwibuka30. With the team, remember, unite, renew. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, last 30 years ago, just 30 years ago, unimaginable human tragedy was unfolding in Rwanda. Over 100 years, more than one people were systematically murdered because of their ethnicity. Unspeakable acts of brutality and inhumanity were carried out. Today, we honor their memory. We are aware that the agony of those harrowing days looms large for many in Rwanda because of the horrors endured over the 100 days as towns and villages became killing fields. When many fled their homes and hid, only to be found and forced to flee again. Rwanda lived through one of the worst episodes of violence of the late 20th century, which left deep and lasting sores on those who survived. This significant event, known as Kwibuka30, is a call to the Ugandans and Africans at large to reaffirm their unwavering support to the prevention and the fight against genocide, to ensure that it never happens again. Dear colleagues and all here present, remembering the genocide invokes a profound sense of duty among nations to uphold peace and unity. Remembering the violent history of our own and other countries concerns us all in the present and for the future. So we learn not to repeat the mistakes and crimes from the past, and so that genocide can never happen again. Remembering the victims of such atrocity reconnects us to our humanness, and at the same time teaches us about the failure of humanity because of indifferences and apathy. Remembering genocide is relevant today because globally we see a steady rise in a hate crime motivated by discrimination and bigotry. This is precisely why we need to wake up now and bring back empathy for the suffering others near and far through remembering. In 2023, UNESCO's World Heritage Committee added 4 genocide memorial sites in Rwanda to the list of the World Heritage Sites. And after the 15th anniversary of the genocide, 3 memorial sites were created in Uganda, at Lem, Kansensro, and Golo, where we are now. Listing a memorial site will enable the entire world to learn more about and draw lessons from the history of the genocide, which Rwanda shares with international community. Ladies and gentlemen, and all invited guests, we also recognize the survivors' resilience and willingness to forgive as we mark the 30th commemoration of the genocide. We reflect on the importance of unity and reconciliation in building a peaceful and prosperous society. We recognize the crucial role of reconciliation in ensuring sustainable peace, stability, and development. Processes of social healing, truth-telling, repentance, and forgiveness have been used to prepare for social integration of convicted genocide perpetrators upon their release. This process have gone some way towards freeing both the perpetrators as well as victims and their families from the bondage of shame, forgiveness, hatred, revenge, and genocide ideology, helping to build a unified Rwanda. Rwanda serves as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of forgiveness. We are reminded that we need to find each other and build a world where love and compassion triumph over hate. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to express concern over the emergence of divisive ideology in the region and globally, with some propagating hate and inciting violence against ethnicity groups. Hate speech and distortion of facts about genocide incite violence and have a devastating effect on communities. And the scale and the impact of the hate speech and disinformation are nowadays amplified by the new technologies and social media. Genocide happens when humanity's moral compass fails. Hateful ideologies proliferate and state-sanctioned dehumanization of an entire group is allowed to spread. In order to secure a future with peace, unity, and dignity, we must firmly speak out about all forms of racism and discrimination. Addressing the root causes of conflict and violence and taking swift action to prevent them. The remembrance of this day should be used as a moment of deep reflection and opportunity to adapt strategies to counter bigotry and hate speech. Dear colleagues and all here present, I wish to recognize the importance of a legal frameworks that criminalize genocide ideology, including the 1948 UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. In addition, I reaffirm that education of communities should be carried out by academia, incorporating knowledge of the dangers of ethnicity, of ethnic discrimination into academic curricula and syllabuses. This should be done taking into account the relationship between education, conflict, and peace building, or what the people of Rwanda have achieved since 1994 in their journey to unity, reconciliation, justice, and preservation of the memory of the genocide is a lesson in the transformation of Rwanda in terms of governance, economic recovery, social Uganda will continue to stand by the people of Rwanda in its transformation. Uganda and Rwanda share historical and fraternal bonds of relationship. Our two countries share a common border and common heritage. Uganda and Rwanda are members of the same sub-regional and regional cooperative frameworks, such as the East African Community, the International Conference of the Great Lakes, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, and the African Union. These are organizations that work for peace, security, stability, and development in the region. Uganda is committed to using its membership to promote the ideals of the regional integration. We value the deepening of our bilateral cooperation with Rwanda and indeed with all our neighbors. This is necessary not only for political reasons, but it is essential for our shared prosperity. In March 2023, Rwanda hosted the 11th Joint Permanent Commission between the Republic of Rwanda and the Republic of Uganda. The meeting assessed strategic areas of cooperation between the two countries and four memoranda of understanding were signed in the field of justice and mutual legal assistance, diplomatic and political consultation, and cooperation. We look forward to many more engagements of this nature. Your Excellency, the late Emperor history teaches that unity is strength, and also that submerge and overcome our differences. Despite all
uyu wo kubibuka turabataramira tukanibukiranya ubutwari bwanyu tuzirikana inzira y'umusaraba mwanyuzemo ariko tukanibuka ubutwari bw'abaranze ya mashami yanyu yashibutse nayo turi kumwe hano baje ngo muganire nubwo batabazi yemwe hari nabo batajya babona mu mafoto kuko yose yahiye nanjye ubu nariyubatse ndakomeye nubwo ibikomere bitashize ariko ndakomeza nkatwaza gutwari kuko mpora nzirikana ko kubaho kwanjye arizo mbaraga zanyu babyeyi zabaho ahanjye ndetse mbeho n'ahanyu aka nanjye mbasanze
inshuro ya mirongo itatu rero umugabane wacu wo mu Rwanda bazaga kuririmba indirimbo twese hamwe twese turayizi yitwa Twana Twanjye urumve twana twanjye naho barazuru
amashami yanyu yashibutse nayo turi kumwe hano baje ngo muganire nubwo batabazi yemwe hari nabo batajya babona kumusura nanjye ubu nariyubatse ndakomeye n'ubwo ibikomere bitashize ariko nakomeza nakaza gutwara kuko mpora nzirikana ko kubaho kwanjye izo mbaraga zanyu zabaho ahanjye ndetse mbeho n'ahanyu mpaka nanjye mbasanze reka nsore
imyaka isabye icyubahiro amaboko yawe ukuyaga hamye intambwe idasubira inyuma mu rugendo